another episode of the Sales Heroes with your hosts, LaDonna Haley and Angie Gonzalez. How are you doing, Ange?
I'm doing so good. How are you?
I'm so great. Life is
I
really
miss you
good.
though. I seriously miss you after being able to record a couple episodes last week with you sitting right next to me in my living room. And then now I'm like, oh, we're not in the same house anymore. I definitely am feeling a little bit of a loss of you. So I miss you.
Same. I miss you as well. It's so good to connect, and I can't wait till we can have some more time together because
I
I came
know.
home refreshed, and I came home and just dove right back in to life and
Yeah.
work and a lot going on. And so this weekend yesterday, I took my dad up to the property to hang out, and I had some time to kind of just sit in the sun and like
Good
reflecting. And
job.
it was so amazing being with you, and it was so amazing going to this Aspire conference. And
Right?
so I'm going to decompress a little this week and like take some more notes on what we went over. And I miss you too.
Yes, I love it. Well, I'm excited for today. I mean, this is going to be a good topic. Today, we're diving into how to manage a sales story effectively. I know this is a question we get asked all the time. So we really want to have that conversation, share some great tips and insights with all of our sheroes out there. So managing a sales territory will look different to everyone. I know you do it differently than I do it. We all have different ways that we support. I actually manage an account list across 3 states that I do not reside in. So managing that territory and at the time, it really is important to be not wasteful, right? And close business.
Yeah, exactly. Same for me in my industry. I'm in Oregon and Southwest Washington. So I have one full state and then the bottom half of another, like kind of portion of a state. And I call in 3 different segments with 3 different approaches. So it's managing 3 very different businesses within that one geography, which will be interesting to kind of share as we move through this, kind of how that looks, right? Because it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first started in cyber sales, I was a specialist. So I actually supported a couple people internally at my company. So I didn't have to go hunting for business like I'm doing now. So going from that little tiny moment to where I am today, managing an account list with 3 states, I'm shocked at my sales journey. I'm just curious, like going to your very first sales list or a region that you had to now, did you ever think that you would have the large patch you have now? Because I look back at my list going, I never thought I would have the list that I have, the accounts that I have. Like, I'm so happy with my journey in sales.
Yes,
What about you?
same, because generally a manufacturer in what I do carries just a small portion of a territory, it's not as vast unless you're an independent agent. So generally when you work directly for corporate like me in manufacturing, flooring, commercial specific, you have just a segment, it's pretty segmented and it gets really segmented down. And so it's been really fun to have freedom to be able to build my territory based on what really works in flow and alignment for me with my accounts. I'm allowed to have a little bit more freedoms in that, right? I can be a little bit more selective if it doesn't feel like it's the right fit. I don't necessarily have to have that business. Like when you're segmented really small, you kind of need everything. With this, I can be a little bit more
Right.
selective, which just feels really good
Mm-hmm.
at this stage in my career.
Yeah, I know. Going back to when I started in cyber sales, I was in an office every day, right? Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, supporting those people until I graduated up to getting a small region and then an account list. And when I look back at you brought up freedom. When I look at freedom now, I thought I had freedom then when I was like, oh, I'm Monday through Friday, I'm 8 to 5, I got a lunch. You have everything kind of packed into your little calendar. And then every now and then you got to go to an event. And I was like, this is so cool. I get to go to an event, right? And now fast forward then to now, it's amazing how I cannot fathom going back into an office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I commend all of our sheroes that are doing that right now. We've walked that walk,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's kind of cool to see the journey
totally.
for
Mm-hmm.
us, right? So let's jump in. I know the first point is near and dear to our heart, and we talk about this a lot on Sales Heroes, and that's training your intuition. You are so good. I've learned a lot from you, as I always call you my therapy that I get to get for free when I get the LaDonna effect. I know our Shiros will kind of resonate with that, but you kind of really have good methodologies around training your intuition and really trusting your gut.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. Intuition's such a powerful tool. And one, I really appreciate that you said that. And I have about me, thank you for that, because I really have done a lot of work to be able to be open and listening. I've also had to set a lot of boundaries around what I listen to. So it's like training your intuition it takes time, and it takes a lot of work, a lot of work to really get to the point. So my point in that is I really appreciate you recognizing that, because it doesn't go without a ton of work to get to the space that I'm in now, where I can actually meet people where they are. And it's really important to me, because I want people to feel loved on, and I want people to feel heard in this world, genuinely heard. And I want to help empower people to do better in their life, or to just be loved where they're at. It doesn't, I mean, we don't always have to be aspiring for more money and more fame and more whatever it
Right.
is, right? Like just to feel heard and feel loved. But I've spent time and energy on learning how to trust my gut and make decisions based on a mix of experience and instinct. What's your take on that?
Yeah. I think trusting our gut when you're in the 20s, you're like very quickly going through life, right? You're so excited and want to just do the next thing. And when I look back now, there were so many times where I did take a turn, not trusting my intuition or my gut. And it led me down a not very positive sales path, right? Not very positive sales journey, companies that I didn't align to my values. And so now when you reflect back, hindsight's 2020, I can see that, which makes me reflect now going forward to say, okay, when I get that feeling of a sales team or a manager or a company that I'm choosing to go work for, I get to be selective. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Just being able to have the experience and the instinct to do that. I think that there are so many ways to accomplish something, and it's crucial to find what works for all of our Shiros that are out there. I mean, I'm 51, so I have a lot of years of experience. I know you're about the same age, right? So trusting that intuition, we have the experience there, but a lot of Shiros are just starting out or they're younger and they don't have that yet. So it's very important that we want to give you permission to trust your gut, walk through struggles and pain along the way can help you get stronger, and trusting and learning what that gut instinct is helps you train your intuition to make it faster, more accurate decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many things that play into it, right? It's like good sleep, not being overcommitted to too much in your work. I mean, we can do too much and then we get misaligned. Um, making sure that we're really paying attention to our health and overall well-being allows us to be able to pay more attention to what our gut and what intuitively, like kind of where we're being led. It's really important. Like you referenced younger sales reps, don't be afraid to experiment, to try new things. I mean, I think that Gary Vaynerchuk said something the other day about there's 300 ways to do something. And I mean, don't quote me on the amount of ways, but there are a lot of different ways to do something. And I find that it's easy to give direction from our perspective, but each of us operates a little differently. So the way I may do it versus the way my boss may do it versus another person running a territory sideline to me may do it, someone may be able to pull a bit from each of us and do it a little bit differently, but still get a really positive reaction from that. So just don't be afraid to experiment. I would say if one approach doesn't work, try another. It's about finding your unique path to success. And then we're going to chat a little bit about prioritizing and aligning.
Yes, priorities. I mean, in sales, aligning your top 3 to 5 priorities and staying consistent with them is going to totally be key for people. That consistency is key. And I know you've talked about the 3 C's, and consistency is one of them. But for me in the business that I'm in, I'll happily share my 3 priorities. One, always is networking. Everywhere I am, always, everyone always. I think one of my friends said the other day, Angie has never met a stranger, right? Because everyone I go meet, no matter restaurant, work event, social event, personal event, it's important for me to know who they are. And I never know when they might be part of my business world, right? So that's always the first one. The second one for me is pipeline generation. Build, build, build. When you're in sales, you're only as good as your next sale. Your last sale, no matter how awesome it is, Unfortunately, in sales, you don't get to hold on to it for very long before your boss or management goes, okay, what are you doing next, right? So always be building. And then lastly for me is references. That's a huge priority for me. I make sure to always be asking customers, prospects, friends, do they have anyone that is interested in my business? So always never be afraid. And then of course just make a repeatable process. So that's my repeatable process. I know that it is always easier said than done, especially for women that are juggling multiple demands in what we
Yeah,
do.
for sure.
How
Yeah,
about
for
you?
sure. The juggle is real. Lack of balance can lead to burnout and decreased productivity. Leadership often pushes us or pushes the idea that there's only one way to be successful in managing a territory. So just like I referenced before, try new ways. The reality is long hours aren't always the answer. So I love to look, I mean, balance is kind of a misnomer, right? It's really about what Angie had said, setting priorities. So when you know, like I know what the most important things are to get done in my territory, and just like Angie said, networking, pipeline generation, references, really one thing that I'm redoing right now, and we're going to chat about this a little bit more on another episode too, because we're going to do a deeper dive into like this, like how to really build a strong business plan for yourself. But you can get to spread too thin. Like I have a very big territory, so I've had to really pare things down so that I'm not trying to be too much to too many people, so I can be really good and great and go deeper and wider in my accounts with a kind of smaller amount of accounts. So I'm not shot out of a cannon, and I'm actually doing better for my people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know smart hours might not be from 9 to 9, right? 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I mean, I think this is, we deal with this too with remote work because we are at home. And I think that it's easy to sit at your desk all day, no matter if it's in the kitchen and on the patio or wherever, but then you never really step away from that, right? So for some, an optimal workday can include a long walk, while answering calls and emails. I know you and I
Yeah.
do that. We will work while we're walking or responding to some emails. Allowing for a slow down, right? Doing, to your point, intentional work rather than consistent hustle, I think it is how we will be the best version of ourselves professionally. And I love what Brene Brown, you and I are huge, huge Brene Brown fans, but I love what she said. She said this: if we want to live a wholehearted life, we have to become intentional about cultivating sleep and play and about letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol. I mean, and it's just huge. It's all about that adaptability, right?
Absolutely. Don't forget to evaluate your account list differently. As we talked about, if we need to pare it down, pare it down. This is really important. I had an appointment. My husband and I drove up together today, and he was hungry. We had a little bit of time. So we found a really great place to sit down, and he had some work emails to respond to, but we got to sit and kind of enjoy some time together, take the dog for a quick walk before going into the next account. So that's that adaptability. It wasn't exactly what we planned on doing, but we pivoted and we kind of did a little bit of a date day in between. You have to find joy in what you're doing. I cannot say this enough. Like if you are chasing anything, chase happiness. Like if you're constantly, I have been caught in the hustle and grind, and I will say at 53 years old, I still am aspiring to do great things. I have things I want to do. I have a phenomenal vision board. I need to make a lot of money to make the things on that vision board check off, but I'm
Right.
not chasing yet. But before in my life, in the past, I've always been chasing money. And, I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God, and money isn't a bad thing, but it can become the biggest priority. And then you get distracted from the things that are really important. So I'm going to just say that again, find the joy in what you do, because if you can chase anything, chase happiness. I'm happier in my life now right now. And it isn't because I'm making more money, but I'm also making more money in my life. And so that goes hand in hand. Like it allows me
Yeah.
chasing happiness and finding accounts that bring me joy and working with people who I love and respect and who treat me well, that just makes for a better career.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, that's our final point on today's series, though, is really finding joy in your work. It's so important to love what you do. We have all had jobs that we did not like what we do. There was one time I was a temp and I was picking seeds out of rotten tomatoes at a seed farm in Oregon. because I worked for a seed company, right? As a temp, when you need work, you need work. So sometimes I get it. You don't have a choice about what you're doing for work to keep the lights on. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you have the choice. It is so important to love what you do. And if you don't, find a way to change it, or and actually do something you love. And if you can't, then find a way to find the good and the joy in what it is you were doing. So for me, picking seeds out, it wasn't fun, it wasn't glamorous, but now I know how seed companies get all their tomato seeds.
Right, right. I love it. Yeah, we've all had those. We've all had those times in our life where we're doing work that isn't enjoyable, and it's important to figure out what it is that you need to do to make a pivot if you need to make a pivot. Like, how do you up level? I mean, there's so much. We have so much access to training and learning and being able to up level our skill sets now. Don't stay stuck in a job that drains you. Look for the aspects of the work that bring you happiness. Focus on those for sure when you're in them. When you're in those jobs that feel a little more mundane. Here's an example. My youngest daughter is in her early 20s, and she's newer in her career, and she works for a city municipality, and she wasn't totally loving the role that she was in. And so she interviewed internally, and it took some time for her to get into a new role, but she's in a new role with more creative freedom, more freedom and autonomy to not just not at a desk. Like, that makes a difference, right? She was in a job that she was at a desk, and now she's not for her, she was like, I can't do this for much longer. So she made a pivot internally, and she did the work. She did the due diligence. She researched finding a new path within the city, and she made that happen for herself. And she had to be tenacious, and it's not a sales role, but she wasn't content. And I was like, and she wasn't feeling satisfied or fulfilled. And she felt like that kind of drudgery of going to work, although she loves the city that she works for. So she was like, I need to pivot this. And now she's totally happy with where she's at. So, if you can,
that is one, sorry,
go. Cause it's just valuable.
That is one thing that I do. It is valuable. And that's one thing that I love about the younger generation today. My daughter's 28, and I remember when she got out of college, this was quite a few years ago, mind you, but when she got out of college, I was like, get a job, get a job, get a job. And she looked me dead in the face and said, I'm not going to do a job to just do a job. And I literally stood there in my tracks like, what? Like, what? But you need a job to pay your bills, blah, blah, blah. She goes, I will find the work, but I will not do the hustle grind that you did back in the 90s, right? Early 2000s. She's like, I don't have to do that. I will choose a job and that I want to be involved
I love that.
In. And sure enough, that's exactly what she did. So I think a lot of us older folks can learn a lot from the younger generation, because they are raised with the mindset of mental health. They are raised with the things that we're talking about today. So, that said, I'm totally curious. Have you personally, I'm just curious, have you ever had to look at yourself in a job and go, yeah, this is not for me? And then was it a hard move because you're the single mom, or was it later in life when you actually had some financial freedom to kind of make that change? I'm just curious.
When I was a single mom, I was more bound, felt more bound. I wasn't necessarily, I felt like I was more bound because I was the one that was providing insurance and providing all the things for my kids. So I stayed stuck in roles for longer than I do now. A few years ago, I was with a major corporation that's a really, really, really good corporation. But I had to stop everything. And it was a really interesting time in my life. I just felt like my mom and her health and the priority of family needed to take precedence over. But also because I was feeling capped. I don't like to be capped. If you cap my income, I'm out. Like, I just get I feel, this is just me personally, that I'm in sales because I want unlimited income potential, period. I want the flexibility, all the things, but I also want to have a pretty uncapped opportunity for myself in sales. And there are many ways to earn in sales. And so I've never felt stuck, like I was starting to feel stuck at the end of that career. And I was like, I have to be done with this. Because the territories were shrinking, it was shrinking the amount of money we could make. And there was nothing I could do about that, because I was even told by upper management that I needed to be happy with the salary I was making. And my salary,
isn't that wild?
It's crazy making to me. And when I took my salary and I took my taxes out of my salary, I was like, okay, brother, could you make your mortgage on that? Like,
Right.
I mean,
That's if you
like,
ask the management or the head of
yes,
payroll, like, here, let's
yes,
swap what you're making and what we're making. And let's see if you can live off of this
yes,
and provide for a family of 3 and 4,
yes.
right? On your own.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so for me, I was like, oh, no brainer. This is done for me. Like, I will make a little less to nothing right now. I mean, I had some residual income coming in and some other kind of side things that I had set myself up so that I wouldn't be completely incomeless during that time. But I was like, this is a no brainer for me. I'm going to take care of these family things that need to be taken care of. And God is going to bless me when I decide to rebound back in because I know how to make money and I am marketable. I'm a great salesperson. I constantly do personal development. I constantly do professional development. I just paid for myself to fly out east to do a training. Like my company didn't pay for that. I paid for that. So I know my
Right.
value. This is something I want to say to you as young salespeople, as people that are in sales. You need to know your value. I know my value. I know what I bring to the table. And if it's not working for me with the company that I'm in, I will find a different company to work for. And if I have to pivot industries, I'll pivot industries. I have done that before. I have stepped out of the
Yeah.
industry that I love into medical sales for a time because that's what I needed to do to provide for my family. So yeah, I'm adaptable and able to pivot. And even as I get older, like sometimes I'm like, well, I'm a little bit older. And I'm like, I'm not that much older. And the wisdom that I have in sales just makes me
Oh yeah.
better than I was 20 years ago. I'm more
Yeah.
adaptable now.
I love that. And all the hard work that you've done in personal development gave you that opportunity to have the strength and courage to stand up. And I love that. I think one thing that I'm trying to get out of my vocabulary is ageism in
Yeah.
sales. I say it a lot all the time, but it's not something I want to put into existence. So I want to remove that because it doesn't matter how old we are. If you know your value, you're good at what you do, people see that, you will always be able to be working, which, now we are the type of people that have people coming to us for asking us to come work for them all the time. But, it's definitely hard to change jobs if you're not happy when, to your point, you really don't have anywhere to go and that is your only option. But I loved what you said. You're like, that's what I put on myself. I really didn't have to stay. If I would have thought a little bit more or done a little bit more on my own self journey, which in your life at that moment, you weren't there. But now for all of our listeners, you can think about that. Like, okay, do I have to stay here? Is the insurance better here? I get it, right? So we're not telling anyone, do not get me wrong. We're not telling anyone to quit your job. Don't get out there and get crazy and saying SalesHeroes told us to do this. Rise up, know your value for sure. We're simply saying if you aren't happy where you are, definitely put pen to paper and let's find out why. And let's see if there's something that you can change on your end first and make that pivot because it might just be an internal thing. I've worked for some pretty hellacious male bosses in the cyber world. Women in tech are pretty rare. We still, unfortunately, we're growing, but not as much. And so I've had to go look within other organizations in my company because I loved what I did. It was just that person that made it very toxic for me. So, definitely check. If it's you, something you can change that first, right? Life is so short. We all know this. We all deal with this every single day. So finding joy can definitely transform your entire approach to managing your territory and can even improve your performance, right?
Yeah, totally. Really, that's all we have for today. We hope these tips help you manage your sales territory more effectively. Angie and I are both here for you. So if you need anything, reach out. You can find us on Instagram at SalesHeroes. We have all of these recorded on YouTube now. And of course, we're dropping new episodes every week. So just reach out to us. We're here 100% to help you if you're on a sales journey and you are wanting additional help. That's why we launched this, to be able to provide female leadership to women that are needing additional female leadership.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Write us a review. We're only as good as the feedback you can give us. I think in sales, you have to be able to take constructive feedback to be able to pivot. So definitely leave us a review. Keep balancing your sales life with joy and intuition and stay balanced, everybody.
Until next time.